Assalamu alaikum dear viewers, I am Tayyab Ali. Welcome to my channel Chess Essentials. Our today's video topic is Understanding the Bishop Part 2. In Part 1 we have discussed what is good bishop, what is bad bishop, what is active bishop, and what are the three rules regarding the bishops. And now in this part we will see some diagrams which are from the games of grandmasters, and we will see that how bishops play important role in a chess game. In this diagram you can see that black bishop is good, but he can't do much more. But white bishop is very well placed and he is controlling many critical squares in black camp. Now it is white to move and he should decide on which side of the board he should play. Actually he should play on that side of the board where a favorable imbalance exists for white, or the possibility of creating one exists. So he can play on the king side or on the queen side. You can see that on the queen side, black b6 pawn is weak, and white bishop also controlling the squares on this direction. White can attack on b pawn by placing the rook on the b file and the queen on the b file, but black rook can't attack white a3 pawn because a8 square is covered by white bishop. And also you can see that black bishop is blocking the path of black rook. So here initiative is in the white's hand. White can play either on the queen side or on the king side. On the queen side he will play for b6 pawn, and on the king side white has space advantage because of f5. So white can also put his pieces on the king side and start an attack, and also white bishop is aiming in that direction too. So it is in the white's hand to play on the king side or on the queen side, but he can't play in the center. Suppose that white can play rook to the d1 and queen to the d3, hoping that after bishop captures f7 with the check, white can pick up the rook. But this is not a real threat. Black can easily prevent this threat by moving the king away from the pin. So this plan is not working here. Now first let's see that if white can attack on the king side or not. So let's make a fantasy position. A fantasy position in which a player which create a fantasy position can place his pieces anywhere on the chessboard, but opponent pieces are remain on the same squares. Fantasy position can only be made in imagination. We cannot make a fantasy position on a chessboard in the actual game because this is illegal. So now white will create a fantasy position on the king side and see that if his attack on the king side is working or not. So this is the fantasy position of white on the king side. Here in this position you can see that white wants to attack with the pieces and places his rook on g4 and queen on g3. And is there any threat for black? Yes, there is a threat because white can play rook to the g6. And due to the f7 pawn pinned, so black can't capture the white rook and white will be winning. But this is not a real threat. And he can easily prevent this threat by moving the king to the h8 or f8, so that white plan will fail in this condition. Now let's see that if white wants to attack on the king side with the pawn storm. If white wants to attack with the pawn storm, the fantasy position look like this. But here you can see that if white wants this position, he has to make several moves, and also this pawn storm can weaken his king. It looks nice for white, but it is dangerous too for white because pawn storm actually weak the king. So this is an idea, but we can't go for this. We actually go for a safer plan, and the safer plan is to attack on the queen side. Let's make a fantasy position on the queen side. So this is the fantasy position of white on the queen side. Here you can see that white rook and queen are putting pressure on this b6 pawn. And in the meantime black will try to defend this pawn. Now let's go through same stages for the black. For this purpose should go to the d6 and black bishop should go to the e8. And now both the pawns are defended. b6 and f7 pawns are defended. As most of you guys know that a pawn chain can be attacked on its base, but this is the half story, as many of the players don't know that actually the idea is that to move or trade the base pawn so that rest of the pawns will become weak. Here white plan is to push his a pawn to a4, and when his a pawn comes to a5, then after b captures a5 and queen captures a5, black position will collapse because this c5 pawn is weak and e5 pawn is weak, and white will win the c5 pawn and eventually win the game. This is our original diagram. Now clear that we are attacking on the queen side, and for this purpose our queen should have to be on the a7 by moving to the a4 and then to the a7, and our rook will have to on the b1, so that our queen side attack will start. But we have to choose which one piece has to play the first move. Can we move our queen to the a4 first, or can we move our rook to the b1 first? If we play here rook to the b1, then queen to the a4 move will be stopped by the bishop. So now we are clear that we have to first move the queen to the a4. And now white confidently play the move queen to the a4. Black play bishop to the d7, white play queen to the a7, and black play bishop to the f8, and white play rook to the b1, and black play rook to the d6. Now white will start to move his pawn forward. Black play king s7, and white play a5. After b captures a5 and queen capture a5, and now you can see that black can't defend his c5 pawn. Black plays the move rook to the a6, and white capture the c5 pawn, and now black play rook to the a2. Now white should make a new plan. Here white c pawn is a passed pawn, but white queen is in its way. So in order to push the pawn and promote, white should remove his queen from his. But first white has to see that if there are any threats by the black. Yes, there are threats by the black. Black can play queen to the g5, and after white play g4, black can play queen to the d2. So white should have to prevent this threat, and white has to move his queen. So white play queen to the e3. And now he has prevented the threat of black and also clear his path of his passed pawn. And now his plan is simply to push his passed pawn to the promoting square. So in this diagram you have seen that how to make a plan during a chess game by creating the fantasy position, and how much a superior minor piece can play in the game. Now let's see another diagram. Now you can see that in this diagram both sides have opposite color bishops. When there are opposite color bishops in an endgame, the endgame is drawish, but in the middle game the opposite color bishops play a very different role, because they serve as an active part in the attacking, because at one point when a bishop attack, the other bishop cannot defend this point. In this diagram you can see that white bishop is inactive here, and his activity is blocked by black e6 pawn. On the other hand, black dark square bishop is very powerful and is attacking directly on the white b2 pawn. So here in this case black plan is to move the queen to the e7 square, and from e7 move the queen to the f6, so that he can make a bishop and queen battery and can attack on the white king. And also if black tries to push the pawn from a7 to the a5 to the a4 and to the a3, then it further destroy the white position. So to protect the black idea, white play rook to the d7, and black challenges the rook, and white play rook to the d1. Black captures d7 and white captures d7, and black queen gives check on g1. Here white can't defend the check with the rook, because after rook to the d1, black bishop can take the pawn on the b2 with the check, and this creates problem for the white. So white decide to move the king to the d2, and here black queen gives check on f2, and white king moves to the d3, and black queen gives check on f1. After queen to e2, black queen capture the pawn on the f4, and now white play the move queen to the f3. In order to exchange the queens, play the move queen to the e5, and keeping the queen on the boards. Now you can see that white king is in center of the middle game. So this is a very difficult position for the white, and soon black won this game easily. So you can see that this superiority of the black dark square bishop here leads to the advantage for the black. So in both the diagrams, diagram first and diagram second, you can see that superiority of a bishop can play an important role in a chess game, and you should make proper plans during a chess game by creating the fantasy position. So this is all about today's video. Hopefully you have understood the concepts regarding the bishop, and now you will be using this piece effectively in your chess games and win the games. Thank you.